Hello, everybody. I just wanted to take a few minutes to go over a couple of points with your projects and give you a little bit of feedback. By the way, hello here from sunny Abu Dhabi, just so you can see what I'm seeing out of my home office here. It's a lovely day. Anyways, first of all, just a quick reminder, here is our experiential practice and learning graphic chart and the experiential learning cycle. So right now we're in the middle of the reflective journals, and you've done the first reflection. I've given some feedback to you individually, but for the second and third, I'll endeavor to give you that feedback in the forum itself so that everyone else can see my comments. And I think this is helpful so you can get a sense of what I'm thinking and my own sort of position or positionality, if you will, on some of the work. So on your action plans, for example, let me just come over here. I've given lots of feedback here and I summarize some of this feedback. So if you think about the action plans and some of the comments, if you read through here, you'll see my comments really focus on how much reflection you're doing. Of course, reflection is a key element of the experiential learning model. Also, you need to really think about the evidence that you're going to capture so that you can document and reflect on something or some objects, some artifacts. So that's really key. How will the students reflect on that? So that's also key. As I say here in this particular one, it doesn't need to be explicit reflection, because often if you say, I want you to now reflect, you might get a bit of eye rolling with older students, and younger students might not quite get the point. What you really need to be doing is building those into the activity so that they're looking back on their work and thinking, well, how do I do it better next time? And so that should be some aspect or element of the activity. And then, as I pointed out, I see two aspects to this project. So most of you are keen on this and working at it quite well, but I do want you to think about your own reflection, your own experiential learning activities and experience of working with your students. So I think that was missing in some of the action plans. How will you actually document your own actions? So that's quite key. If you read through, I talked, again, some of you had quite a broad scope, and when I looked through the first reflections, a lot of you have, in some cases, dramatically scaled back your own expectations, which allows you to be a lot more thorough. I think that's quite good and key. And then a few comments on experiential learning itself. Again, what is your own experiential learning? How are they reflecting on activities? And so forth. Now, I did have a range of questions. If I just come back here for a moment to the reflection, I did have a few follow-up questions, and I've met with several of you in the past week or so on Teams again, as you talk through some of the issues you're facing about control over the learning, and how can you give control away, not get greater control, what strategies you are working with or on to build in, and what resources you might need. But if I come back here, so the final project is both a summary of your experience, and ideally that summary is some kind of documented experience, and hopefully a path or a description of what other educators could do to create or recreate the same experience for their students. It could also be, and this is why I put this in a different color here, it could be a proposal for your final thesis or capstone project, because I mean, pretty much all of you, I guess, unless you're in the GDE, I suppose, you'll be doing a capstone or the capstone course. And I don't teach the capstone, but I have spoken with the capstone instructors on previous occasions. And a lot of them do see this course as a precursor. So if you are going to go and do that capstone, you can think about this project as a mini version where you're validating some of your methodologies, validating some of your data collection methods so that you can move into that capstone project with a much greater sense of what you're doing. If you think about this experiential learning as action research, you might want to do a little bit of reading on what action research is. But basically, action research is what you're doing now. You're trying to implement some strategy, collecting data on it, and reflecting on how effective that was. So I think most of you are on to this now, but just be clear, the final project is trying to capture that experience, ideally in a way that your colleagues could reflect upon and recreate that experience for their own students. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is as a precursor for your own capstone to build on this, or someone else might like what you've done and think, well, that could be their capstone. You don't have to do, in your capstone, you don't have to do the same project that you've done here, but you're doing a lot of work on this, so why not build on that? So anyways, that's 6 minutes and 45 seconds, more than enough time. So thank you very much. And as always, I'm open to any emails, and I'll be seeing you in the discussion forums. Thank you.